It was Wednesday. The New Mexico desert stretched as endlessly as the sky, and it was quiet. All but for one stretch of highway just outside of Santa Fe. There, a wild car chase was ongoing. 4 police cruisers were in hot pursuit of one white Chevy Malibu. Inside the Chevy, a woman's life was in danger. That chase would ultimately culminate in the most horrifying way, with 2 people losing their lives.
Talk to me! Where is he? Where is he?
And he ran the other way.
But when the dust finally settled in the desert, well, Nothing was as it seemed. Hey you, and welcome. My name is Mike, and in this old video, we are going to take a look at a story that, if you didn't get whiplash from the crash at the center of the story, then you would certainly get whiplash from the characters within it. But before we get into it, please subscribe to see new stories for the dark every single week. Now, let's give it a go. Santa Fe, capital of the state of New Mexico, can get surprisingly cold in March. And so, shortly before midday, a man named Richard Musser was putting on his heavy coat as he walked out the door of his apartment on Sawmill Road. As Richard was walking to his car to go get some groceries at around 11 o'clock that morning, he had a fucking hell moment. His car had been boxed in. Great! Boxed in by a white Chevy Malibu. The car was less than 10 feet away from his car, and it was perpendicular to his own, and he saw that the driver's side door, which was facing him, was open. Richard Musser could see that the driver was a woman with shoulder-length dark hair, early to mid-30s, about that. In the passenger seat beside her, Richard saw a man holding like a pipe or a club, something like that. And suddenly, the woman in the driver's seat began begging Richard for help, telling him to call the police, call 911 as soon as he could. She said that the man in the passenger seat was going to hurt her. Seconds later, the Malibu sped off and Richard dialed 911.
There's a lady out in my parking lot here at the Vizcaya Apartments. She asked me to call the police. Somebody's in her car, won't get out. She says he has a knife held on her. She's now leaving. She's in a white Malibu.
Obviously, any report of a kidnapping in progress with a weapon involved was only ever going to get one response. Every available unit was called upon to get over to Sawmill Road to look out for the car Richard described at the time as a white sedan. First to reach the apartments was Officer Ramiro, who was nearby when the call from dispatchers went out. It didn't take long for Ramiro to pick up the target vehicle as it was heading away on an intersection. Officer Ramiro, though, was too far away to get a plate reading, and the windows were sort of tinted, so he couldn't exactly see what was going on inside this, kidnapper's vehicle. However, it seemed that the people and persons inside this white sedan were not too keen, were not too chuffed to speak to Officer Ramiro. Upon seeing him, they sped off on the I-25 going south away from the city. Any call of a kidnapping with a weapon gets the highest priority from police. And so it was all hands on deck this sunny March noon. Whoever the woman was, didn't matter. Whoever the kidnapper was, the man with the pipe, he was determined to ditch the police, only speeding up and up through red lights and away from the city. The only thing in that driver's mind was losing the cops. Shortly after, this white Chevy crossed this dirt meridian between the northbound and southbound lanes. It was now heading the wrong way on the highway, driving directly into oncoming traffic. Soon, any cars in the area that weren't already committed to an emergency situation were redirected to try and stop the Chevy as quickly and as safely as possible. This was sprinting towards the worst possible ending territory. With the Chevy hurtling south against northbound traffic, authorities were forced to make split-second decisions. As long as there was an immediate threat to life, their pursuit was necessary, even if it risked the officers' own lives. First to join Officer Romero in the chase was Officer Norris, who took over as the lead pursuing vehicle. They were followed closely by a third car in pursuit, driven by Officer Duran. Last was Officer Montano, trailing behind, backing up his colleagues. Everything I am about to tell you that happened next It all happened in a couple of seconds. As the white Chevy Malibu was fleeing from pursuing officers driving at 90 miles per hour, which is about 145 kilometers an hour, a woman named Alexis Jenkins was driving north on I-25, totally unaware that there was a police chase heading directly towards her. She was just starting out on her way back to Colorado after having like a girls' weekend away in Santa Fe, and she narrowly avoided hitting that white Chevy as it booked, towards her, going at extremely high speed, and she had to drive off-road to dodge it. Also heading in the correct direction of traffic was a semi-truck. The driver, Stephen Dixon, was forced to slam on the brakes and turn suddenly to avoid hitting that white Chevy and then also the pursuing police cars. Fortunately for the subsequent investigation, that jerky movement and sudden deceleration activated the truck's dash cam to begin recording. That meant not only was the following action captured on camera, but so was the preceding 30 or so seconds thanks to the camera's wind back feature. Also heading north in his truck was 62-year-old retired firefighter Frank Lovato. Unlike the previous traffic, Frank wasn't able to get out of the way of the oncoming chase. Having only avoided hitting the Chevy Malibu by a matter of inches, Frank Lovato's Dodge Ram truck hit Officer Robert Duran's police cruiser head-on. Less than 10 seconds later, he was dead. The force of the crash and amount of destruction was massive. It's hard to describe the amount of energy that results from such an impact, but Officer Duran's cruiser was later described as being almost disintegrated by the force of the collision. The cause of death in both men's cases was from severe and sudden, multiple blunt force traumas sustained in the crash. Neither man stood a chance at that speed and trajectory. The level of injuries inflicted on both men was catastrophic, and no one could have survived such an impact. The only small mercy being that death would have been almost certainly instantaneous. Officer Montano, who'd been at the back driving behind, Duran's cruiser was just about able to dodge this insane crash because he had been keeping a safe distance behind them. Unfortunately, though, Officer Montano, swerving out of the way of this fatal crash incident, he ended up hitting Alexis Jenkins, who had been driven off the road a couple of seconds previously, and he ended up slamming into her car. Alexis Jenkins, who'd only seconds before managed to dodge that white Chevy Malibu, would end up, after being hit by the police car, she would end up with permanent, life-changing injuries. Officer Montano would be taken to hospital with severe bruising and chest pain. So that left 2 people dead and 2 people injured, and the chase was still going on. The scene was utter chaos and it wasn't over yet. The Chevy was still flying ahead as fast as, trying to empty the gas tank as fast as possible. Benigno Salas was also traveling north on the I-25, when out of nowhere, something impacted his car. It was debris from the crash up ahead. In shock, he couldn't process what had happened. He thought maybe something had come loose from another car. Then the white Chevy smashed into the side of his car. The next thing he remembered was feeling warm and being surrounded by white. He genuinely thought he had died. Had he not been in a bulky GMC truck, he likely would have been. In reality, he was far from heaven. He had lost consciousness after being sideswiped by the Chevy, and the white that had enveloped him was his car's airbag. The warmth was from the hot coffee he was doused in during the impact. The truck was a complete write-off. Parts of it were strewn across the highway. The Chevy Malibu finally hitting something itself was left with serious damage, but that didn't stop this kidnapper who was still trying to empty the tank, trying to get away. They were only forced to stop and go off the road when that crash resulted in the Chevy being a three-wheeler. After witnessing the crash between the GMC truck and the Chevy Malibu, Officers Norris and Romero in the lead car were forced to come to a sudden stop behind the wreck of the kidnapper's Chevy. As they did so, they saw a woman, who they believed was the female hostage they were looking for, emerge from the Malibu and crawl away before getting up and running to Officer Norris. Crying and seemingly in a state of complete panic, the woman was screaming out, "He tried to kill me. He has a knife. He has a gun. He poured gasoline on me."
Wait, are you on the cell phone ring?
Get out of the car! Get out of the car right now! Let me see your hands! Walk to me! Where is he? Where is he? Walk back to me! Walk back! I got the female coming back to me right now. There's probably one outstanding in the car. Come back to me. Let me see your hands. Come back. Where is he?
He went that way.
What is he? Is he in the car?
No, he went that way.
Come here. Get down. Get down. Let me check you. Get in the car.
Okay. Oh, God, help me.
Get in the car. Get in the car. Let me see. I need to check you. I need to check you for weapons.
Okay.
Where's he at? Who is it?
His name is Mark. He's my boyfriend.
Does he have any weapons?
Yes, he does.
What does he have?
He has a gun.
Where is he at?
He went running.
He ran?
Yes, he did.
Okay, stand by. So I have the victim right now in the back of my car. She's saying it's her boyfriend. Unknown on the name yet. He's got 1080 with a gun and went into these bushes right here.
Okay, let's get some clarification on exactly where we're at, and we need to establish a perimeter on that, please.
Okay, what is his name?
His name is Mark.
Mark what?
Lopez.
Where, he ran off or what?
Yes, he did.
Are you sure he's not in the vehicle?
I'm sure, sir.
You're positive?
I'm positive, sir. He hit me and he ran.
Okay. We need to clear this vehicle as well. I don't know if there's anybody else in here.
According to GPS, we're probably about 35, maybe 36.
He was gonna burn me.
Did he stab you at all?
Fire.
Did he hurt you at all?
I don't know.
Okay, what kind of gun does he have?
He had a knife to me too.
He has a gun or no?
A gun and a knife.
Okay. What's his last name?
Lopez.
Lopez? What's his date of birth?
I'm not too sure because I haven't been going out with him very long.
Okay, hold on.
Does anybody have the suspect slash DOT?
Let me see. He went this way or what?
I don't know, sir.
Somebody
I just
trying to
wanted
get
to get. He hit me.
Okay, any units that are coming up, what I want you guys to do is start diverting I-25 bound, I-25 northbound traffic off of the highway.
When did he get out of the car? Were you driving?
No,
I know it's take a breath. We're trying to help you get information.
I was not driving. He got out.
He was driving?
He said that he was gonna kill me and light me on fire. There's gas in the car.
Mark Lopez?
Yes. Tell him be careful. There's gas in there.
Okay, so the victim is saying that the suspect is a Mark Lopez, no date of birth. Apparently there's gas and fire in the car. I didn't see anybody exit besides her, so he may still be in the vehicle. Okay, stay in the car, okay? Keep your head down. He has a gun.
Heard the horse right now, and your officer is complaining of chest pain here.
Hey, just leave it for now.
These guys are helping me just with kind of first aid stuff. But I'm sorry, guys. I'm really sorry. I was coming from Las Vegas and he was 10-7. Okay.
Oh, no. Oh, that's out. My fucking brother.
Whoever has a description of the suspect, can you please relay that to me so I can give it to USP? Red shirt, black jacket over, black hat, blue jeans.
The officers tried their best to reassure the woman that it was okay. She was safe now. But they needed to know who he was. Who was this well-armed arsonist, kidnapping, carjacker? The woman told them it was her boyfriend. Well, ex-boyfriend, or at least I'd f***ing hope so. The woman said his name was Mark Lopez. They'd only been dating a few months. Officer Norris asked where Mark was now, and she said she thought he ran off into the bushes on the side of the highway.
today's a hard day. We have 2 people that lost their lives. We want to get to that first, get all the information that we can.
Police say the suspect around 11 this morning carjacked and kidnapped the woman in the car at knife point at the Rancho Vizcaya Apartments on St. Francis near I-25. Police spotted the car minutes later. The suspect led police on a chase down I-25 going the wrong way. That chase led to a deadly crash involving at least 4 cars. A Santa Fe police officer died in the crash along with the driver who was in the wrong place at the wrong time. About an hour ago, Santa Fe Deputy Police Chief Ben Valdez was emotional, talking about losing one of their own.
We know everyone's name, we know their family as well. And, when we say that that officer and their family is part of our family, that holds true today. And today our family's hurting.
This sole video is about people not being who you think they are, twisting the truth and inventing identities. Nothing was as it seemed, and it started with a chase and a search. But what if you wanted to disappear? Online, it can be a good idea to remain anonymous, so no one can know who you are, and most importantly, where you are. If you knew how easy it was to be traced to your physical location, you'd be shocked. And it's easy to do that. Sorry to shock you. But not if you have today's sponsor, NordVPN. Nord ensures that no one can trace your IP address, which is tied to your physical location. It does that by routing it through some other location. Where, I hear you ask? Anywhere in the world you want to be. You want to be in Brazil. You want to be in Korea. You want to be in Germany. You can be, virtually. All with a single click. Or how about you want to access content that is only available in certain countries? Well, you can do that too. No more this content is not available in your location. And best of all, NordVPN's features don't stop there. Nord also has incredible features like Nord's Mesh Net, where you can safely connect to any other device in the world, and also a password manager, a data scanner, a dark web monitor that gives you alerts if your credentials have been leaked, and Nord's threat protection that blocks nefarious websites and ads, it scans files, and stops trackers in their tracks. It does it all to keep you safe online. Nord's goal is, and it's always been, to make the internet better than it is today, free from things like online threats, surveillance, censorship. 3 things which unfortunately seem to only, be becoming more prevalent on the internet. That's why it's great to have folk like Nord on your side. So become safer with a click by downloading NordVPN today. And if you use my special link, that is nordvpn.com/thatchapter, you can get an exclusive deal to start the new year right. Get a NordVPN 2-year plan and 4 months extra right here at nordvpn.com/thatchapter. It's risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Once again, go to nordvpn.com/thatchapter to get a 2-year plan and 4 extra months, all with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Thank you so much to NordVPN for sponsoring and supporting That Chapter. Now, let's get back to it. A man willing to commit this level of brazen crimes and cause this level of chaos now out in the streets with a gun, no less. Probably not the best idea to kind of leave him out and about.
Police continue to search for the kidnapping suspect who caused a crash on I-25 yesterday.
The only description we have right now of the suspect are the clothes he was wearing, a red shirt, black jacket, and black pants. Tonight, state police say they do not believe there is an ongoing threat to the public.
New Mexico State Police are the lead agency in this investigation. They believe that suspect ran from the scene on foot toward homes just east of the crash site.
It's just crazy that he was able to get away, and
forcing those living in that area to be on the lookout.
We did lock our doors, which we normally don't have to do.
The manhunt was on, and police needed to get as much information about the suspect as possible. Not only was he responsible for the deaths of 2 people, a police officer and a retired firefighter, which are the 2 jobs you don't mess around with, he was also on the prowl. They're a serious threat to public safety, a scary bastard who left destruction and shit in his wake. In the meantime, the panicked but apparently physically unharmed woman identified herself as 46-year-old Jeannine Jaramillo. Jaramillo was checked over by paramedics, taken to hospital, checked over to make sure she was okay before being brought to the station to give her a statement about what the hell had happened and who had kidnapped her and why. Obviously, given that she'd only recently told police at the scene of a fatal double fatality car crash that the guy who caused this, he's on the run. He's running around with a gun. Well, time Tick, tick, tick. Time was kind of the essence. They needed every little single detail Jeannine Jaramillo could give the police about who the kidnapper Mark Lopez was.
I'm freaking out, but I don't know what's going on.
Okay.
Like my head, it feels like I'm in a dream, and I'm still in shock.
Jaramillo was pretty set on her description of what Mark was wearing: a red shirt, black jacket, and black pants. This was the exact same thing she told Officer Norris that Mark was wearing when she gave a description at the scene. Other than that though, she was able to give them surprisingly little about the man she'd apparently been dating from anywhere between 2 to 4 months.
How long have you and Mark been dating?
Oh God. I've known him like 2 to maybe 4 months, not long at all.
It's important in our job to make sure we have the right people. I'm curious to know if you know Mark's last name.
Oh, Lopez. Yes.
Lopez?
Yes.
And with whom she'd apparently just shared a near-death experience. She thought he might have been married, but she wasn't sure. But then in that same interview, Jeannine could apparently not remember the ages of her own children, so maybe she just has a really shitty memory and has been through something, in fairness. On the trauma scale, it's above, you can't see it, it's out of frame.
You okay?
I'm not okay. I'm so scared. I can't stop shaking. I'm afraid for my life. I've never felt this before. Like, I almost died today. I mean, I seen some awful stuff and it scared me. I'm scared. You're going to kill me. Oh. It hurts, Lord. Why did this happen to me?
This morning, at Mike's house, you guys are in the yard and you're wanting to go home. You said you're not going home, and then you want to go home still, and he says you're not leaving. He begins striking you in your chest. Is that right?
Yeah.
And how was with a hand, with a weapon?
He punched me. He was punching me with his fist.
So it was a closed fist like this? Okay.
He was punching me so hard in my head, and I didn't know what was going on anymore. He was choking me. He was choking me and telling me that he was going to kill me. And I just hear the sirens, and I'm just praying and praying and praying, because he just, like I told you, he just kept telling me he's going to kill me. When he was hitting me in my head, he knocked me out. Because, I remember I saw, real weird dizziness and real strange, my vision, and then it was all black, and I was out.
Now, where was this when this happened?
He was outside of his friend's house.
So what happened next?
He woke me up, in this so terrible, terrible, terrible way, pouring some gas on me. I smelled it, and then I felt the cold going in my clothes and everything. He told me it was gonna burn me.
What happens when you see the police? Are you still driving?
Me? No, I wasn't driving.
How'd the switch happen?
Because he put me so that he can drive. He pushed me over to the side.
Do you remember going the wrong way on the highway?
No. I don't. I remember that he turned and then crashing into I think it was a truck, I don't know. And he did this on purpose. I don't know why I saw his arm. I could see his arm, and he just went
She didn't even know where he lived. So what one of the detectives did was track down his driver's license using the national database, and from there they were able to get his cell phone number, and from there they pinged his cell phone number until it led to an area. The police went to that area, couldn't find him here, asked around, had pictures of him. I mean, a big old bolo was put out for this Mark Lopez, but nobody recognized him. in this area it said his phone was. He wasn't there. So eventually then they went to the address that was listed on his driver's license, knocked on his door, no answer. I mean, it would be unlikely a kidnapper would immediately go home, but you never know. Then they rang his Ring doorbell. You never know. Well, we do know actually, because Mark Lopez answered. He answered, via the app on his phone. He wasn't actually at home, but he said, "Oh, I'm actually just with my wife. I should be home in about 5 to 10 minutes. What? Earlier that same day, Mark Lopez had apparently led the police on a incredibly dangerous, fatal, deadly car chase that resulted in 2 people dying. And now he's like, "Oh yeah, sure, you know yourself, like just out getting some groceries with the wife. Be back in a few minutes." Now in the meantime, the detectives were like, well, he could just be saying that because he's getting a 5 to 10 minute head start and booking it out of town, maybe going the wrong way up another highway. But as they were debating, is this going to be a cat and mouse chase going to start here? He pulled into the driveway with his wife. Mark Lopez pulled into the driveway with his wife and a trunk full of groceries. After a brief check to make sure this was indeed Mark Lopez, well, he seemed to be shocked to be speaking to a detective at all, and he was puzzled by the situation. They cut straight to it, asking if he knew anyone by the name of Jeannine Jaramillo. You know, your victim. Mark Lopez said he had never heard the name Jeannine Jaramillo in his life. Mark could fully explain where he'd been all day. He had Ring camera footage to back it up. He had colleagues to back it up. He had his wife to back it up. He was alibied up the wazoo. It didn't seem like Mark Lopez was in any car chase or kidnapping no one that day. He was upfront and forthcoming, unlike his victim, Jeannine. But with multiple alibis for before, after, during the car chase, Mark Lopez was not involved in what had happened, this deadly car chase. Things just weren't adding up. Everyone from the initial officers at the scene to the interviewing detectives, all the way to the state prosecutors, had been skeptical of Jeannine's story from the beginning. And now, the more detectives looked into her account, the less it made sense. Jeannine had told the officers she had been doused in petrol by her kidnapper.
He was gonna burn me.
Did he stab you at all?
Fire.
But there was no trace or scent of it on her or in the Chevy Malibu.
You said that Mark put gasoline on you.
Yes, he did.
And I'm sitting next to the clothes that you were wearing when he did that. I don't smell any gasoline.
Oh, there's gasoline on the clothes.
Not only were there absolutely no details at crucial points about things that most people would instantly be able to recall, but Jeannine could then give oddly specific details about things that didn't seem to matter at all, or the average person wouldn't have paid attention to. The only thing that prevented her from being immediately arrested at the scene was the kidnapping report.
There's 2 police officers that saw the vehicle come to a stop. Not, it's been stopped and we showed up 10 minutes later, you came out. It came to a stop as they were there.
Mm-hmm.
They only saw you exit. There was nobody else that got out of the car. Talk to that Mark Lopez. I mean, he's been at work all day with his wife and family after work.
There's cameras all in that area, traffic cameras. There were witnesses of them.
Mm-hmm.
Cameras at the apartment complex. There's cameras at the gas station. We have all of this.
But I think, this is just me, that you're the only person in the car. And just be honest. Okay.
What cannot be explained is you getting hit in the head so hard by a man that he knocks you out, and there's not a bruise, there's not a welt, there's
How
nothing.
do they know? How do you know there's no bruises on my head?
Because we're looking at you.
It would turn out that the Chevy Malibu was also stolen, and throughout the ordeal, she said she was kidnapped, but she also said, she was the driver, and she was witnessed as being the driver when this whole ordeal started. But of course, then when the crash happened, she was now miraculously not the driver. They had somehow found the time to switch seats. But surely no one would make up a story that's this wild about a fake kidnapping, causing this amount of destruction. I mean, most people wouldn't. But Jeannine would. This was not Jeannine Jaramillo's first rodeo, let me tell you. While police were out in the wild trying to catch a glimpse of this elusive and mysterious Mark Lopez, who has never heard of Jeannine Jaramillo in his life, all the while she's saying, oh, he threatened to kill me, he was going to hurt me, and he's the cause of this whole high-speed chase car crash that ended with 2 people dying. So police were looking for him, but they're also keeping an eye on who exactly is Jeannine Jaramillo herself, and having a go, clackety-clackety, they found a whole extensive criminal record for Jeannine Jaramillo going back to 2005. She's been busy. She didn't waste any time. She was arrested for the first time in 2005 for shoplifting on that occasion. She got a year of unsupervised probation for that. In total, Jeannine had 11 prior arrests for multiple charges, and the shoplifting would be the least of them. From her very first arrest, she actually went a good few years without any significant contact with the law. But in 2013, she was busted again on a second shoplifting charge. Only the next year, Jeannine pleaded out to 3 counts of handling a stolen vehicle. That one landed her with an 18-month custodial sentence and 3 years probation. She served only a tiny fraction of that sentence though, and was out in time to be picked up again in June 2014. This time for trying to walk out of a Walmart in Albuquerque with $400 worth of goods. She got lucky on that one, initially getting a warrant issued after not showing up for court, but then having the case thrown out when the witness didn't show up for their own appearance. March 2015 was yet another shoplifting arrest and charge. This time, she tried to hit up a JCPenney's for almost $500 worth of stuff. Again, she got lucky with a case dismissal. That was followed by Jeannine being caught breaking into vehicles. Again, the case was dismissed. I mean, sure, you know yourself, like if you'd been doing all of these crimes and the cases just kept getting dismissed, sure, why would you stop? This is great. In May of 2015, though, Jeannine graduated to violent crime, getting herself arrested for battery on a law enforcement officer with a deadly weapon, resisting arrest, handling a stolen vehicle, and having an open container in a motor vehicle. For all of that, Jeannine got a grand total of sweet fuck all. Instead of jail time, Jeannine gave the whole "walk a mile in my shoes." She gave this whole story of abuse, addiction, the usual kind of rigmarole, they all get out of jail free card, and was basically slapped with like counseling, treatment, that kind of thing. In a shock to no one, she violated the terms of the treatment and probation several times. That was all until late 2021, then things got dark, like very dark, and also very revealing. Less than a year before leading the police on a deadly car chase that killed 2 men and then blaming it all on a man who didn't exist. I mean, Mark Lopez did exist, but she was talking about a fictional Mark Lopez. Her Mark Lopez existed in the realms up here. You know what I'm saying? 6 months earlier, Jeannine had been involved in 2 separate incidents. Once on September 7th, 2021, and the other on October 8th, 2021, in which she had, guess what, oddshot, stolen cars, fled the police, and then blamed it on a mysterious kidnapper. She literally used the name Mark Lopez before. It was probably the first name that came to her mind. She gave the same description of this Mark Lopez as she would in the fatal collision in March of 22.
Okay, so what happened?
Okay, my boyfriend kept me here.
Where's here?
Grant.
Uh-huh.
Grant. And for like 2 days, he didn't let me go. I don't know what the hell. He didn't give me no water. He didn't give me nothing. That's why when I came to this man's house here, I asked him for a water. I was so I'm so dehydrated, sir. He just like kidnapped me and didn't let me do anything.
19210, where did you just come?
And I was trying to get away from him. I saw this house, so I came here. And he ran the other way.
Ran what other way?
Like, the car, let me see. He ran to the left-hand side. He ran to the left. And I went up.
So he ran to the left, you went up? Okay. What's he wearing?
He's wearing a red shirt also, with black jeans. They're like they hang off, where they show their...
Where it shows his ass?
Yeah.
What color's his skin?
Dark brown.
He's dark? Like him dark?
Lighter.
Lighter than him? Okay. Where was he sitting in the car?
He was down on the ground more.
On the ground? What seat?
kind of like down on the middle part, he was on the passenger side.
He was on the passenger side down? What all's in that car?
I was trying to stop, sir. I was trying to stop.
What all's in that car?
I have my guitar in there.
Uh-huh.
We were going just to visit a friend of his, he said. We never got to a friend's house.
So how could he be holding a knife to her neck, keeping you from stopping if he's down on the floorboard of the vehicle?
He had the knife in his hand, sir, but they didn't.
But how is he holding it to your neck?
And then he got up and he put it to my neck and he told me to.
Where at on your neck?
Over here. He told me that he's gonna kill me if I try to stop again because I was trying to stop, sir. I was trying to stop and then he punched me right here and he was choking me. He was choking me. Most of the time he was choking me. It hurts me. I can't even.
He was choking you while you were driving from us?
No.
She literally was telling the exact same lie again and again.
He punched in my stomach. He punched me a lot of times in my stomach and he told me not to stop because I was pushing the brake. I was trying to stop.
What a drama queen.
Male and a female crashed into the fence. Car was smoking and they took off. I got behind her. I didn't see no one else in the vehicle at all.
I mean, I think her Facebook bio says it all. Live my life day by day. I do what I do. I give all my full 100%. I am a lot to handle. #1 hustler. It's cool that she wrote that, because you don't even need to speak with her to know she's a useless piece of shit.
She's sticking to her story, even though we found out she made similar claims following a high-speed chase last year in Cibola County that ended with her arrest. Kai Porter will have more on that in just a little bit, but from the conversation we had earlier today, she told me her side.
Right now, I'm not that, I'm scared for my life. I was with the driver and he basically kidnapped me because he did not want to bring me home. So I crawled out the driver's side window. I fell to the ground and I seen the police. I looked up and there was the police and I just ran for my life and I was screaming, help me, I'm crying, I'm hysterical and I'm in shock. I'm in shock still.
I bet.
And I don't know what to do. I'm trying to get myself out now to go for a little walk because I'm just so scared that I'm gonna see him. If he is watching this, I hope that maybe you can turn yourself in or just stop what you're doing. You give up already.
Janine was still sticking to her story of a mystery man, Mark Lopez, kidnapping her. And he was out there to this day, somewhere, maybe even behind you. Detectives soon brought her back in, this time to be interrogated as a suspect and not a witness or victim.
Dear God, I'm not the one that should be here, Lord. Mark, I wish they would see this. I can't believe he did this to me. I hate him. I want to see him again, God. Please help him understand. Mark did so much wrong to me.
To add insult to stupid, as Jaramillo was being booked into jail, they found a syringe and a whole bunch of meth hidden on her body.
Good evening. A woman will face 2 first-degree murder charges in a wrong-way crash on I-25 that killed a Santa Fe police officer and retired Las Vegas firefighter. A Santa Fe District Court judge said the charges fit the crime. After listening to hours of evidence today, including witness testimony and new dash cam video that shows the suspect put a lot of lives in danger that day.
By the time this all came to trial late last year, the defense didn't really have much of a hope, even choosing to forego opening statements. Let's face it, if you're a defendant and your lawyer barely speaks, you better look forward to wearing orange for a long time.
From the beginning, this defendant is treated with dignity and respect and rushed to safety and aid. The investigation completely unravels Jeannine Jaramillo's story. Jeannine Jaramillo is not a victim. There is no boyfriend of 4 months by the name of Mark Lopez, and there was no kidnapping.
The trial was a whole stream of witnesses, some professional, some non, shoveling dirt on Jaramillo's metaphorical grave. Apart from a brief and very bad faith argument from the defense, insinuating that the crash was actually the fault of the police for chasing Jeannine Jaramillo and not just letting her go once she started going down the wrong direction of the highway, there wasn't really much else they had. I mean, that's a whole other kettle of fish, but the police believed Jaramillo to be a victim at the time, so I guess they weren't prepared to let, you know, a kidnapper escape with her. But it ended up costing... It's a very messed up story. Before the verdict came true though, Jeannine had one last chance to throw herself on her own sword, accept fault, apologize, and beg for mercy. She certainly begged for mercy, only she somehow managed to do it in a way that if you didn't already hate her, you sure as shit would now. Appearing before the judge, having recently added a crude cross and stars tattooed to her face, I mean that's not exactly a great idea to have her pleas taken seriously. Well, once again her pleas were solely for herself and didn't mention the actual dead victims or take responsibility once. I mean her statement really says it all. All you need to know right here, folks.
If I could take back that day, I would. I made bad choices. I was on drugs and I was drinking, but I also have my family that I'm hurting. Putting me away many years is not going to bring them back. God knows. I deserve a second chance, Your Honor, please.
I'm sentencing you to life imprisonment. With respect to count 2, first-degree murder, Robert Duran, I'm sentencing you to life imprisonment.
It actually took the jury several hours of deliberation to reach a verdict on the various charges, which included 2 counts of first-degree murder, fleeing a law enforcement officer, and receiving or transferring stolen vehicles, among others. Ultimately, she was found guilty on all counts. Thankfully, Jeannine Jaramillo will have the rest of her life to, think about it. Give it a goo in the old noodle. No doubt she'll spend all that time blaming everybody but herself. The person who caused all this shit. I mean, she'll even invent people to blame, like Mark Lopez. She'll even invent a fake Mark Lopez to blame. Because she had done it multiple times before. And the entire reason these people were killed was because they were trying to save her life. They thought she was in danger. They thought she was the victim when actually she was the killer at the end of it all. So yeah, this case makes no sense whatsoever. And we still even have unanswered questions. Who was that man, Richard Mooser, seen in the car with Jeannine that morning, the guy with the pipe? Well, it would turn out he was in fact a real person. He was her buddy, Jerry. He had jumped out of the car before she drove off and the chase began. So that's one answer, but not a very good one. And I mean, why did she do it? Would probably be a question we could also use an answer to. But I mean, your only real answer is drugs are a hell of a thing. And what will happen to Jeannine? Not much. Hopefully, at last, Jeannine will be able to, not hurt anybody else. Because she probably would if she thought it would get her attention or get her out of facing the consequences of her own actions. Thank you so much for being here. It really means the absolute world to me. Hope you enjoyed this whole video as I wanted to tell this story. I thought it was an absolutely batshit banana story and, making some changes as I always do. You know me, I'm always messing around with things because I got a dark and twisted mind. But until the next one, please check out the That Chapter Patreon, where for $2 a month you get early access to all videos and a playlist of That Chapter Patreon exclusive videos. Check out the merch down below, like this hat, which I love. And you can also check out the That Chapter podcast, which has a brand new episode out every single Monday morning, and it's all podcast exclusive stories, so you can give that a go. But until the next one, please take care of each other. Please take care of yourselves, because I love you. Mike out.